back on the Exit 52 podcast, little impromptu Friday happy hour here. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined by Spenny Donald Jr., of course. Not talking about maybe the Donald Jr. some of you are thinking of. We're talking about Aaron Donald Jr. Justin Madubuike agreeing to terms on a contract extension with the Baltimore Ravens. It is worth $98 million. I think Spotrac nailed that one. Am I correct in that? $98 million over 4 years? Yep. $75.5 million. Total and guarantees $53.5 million at signing. Spenny, how are we feeling about this? The preeminent Justin Madubuike truther on the internet.
I am the ultimate truther. What a move. Wow. Bam. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks, and the Ravens add another cornerstone franchise monster contract player to go alongside really just Lamar Jackson and Roquan Smith with these second wave of contracts. You still got Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley, Mark Andrews is kind of that first wave. So core member, Justin Madubuike had arguably the best non-quarterback contract year you can really recall, considering where he was a year ago. An outstanding Friday news drop to get. We have Kelly McCoy here. So Justin Madubuike gets the Exit 52 bump after we did a little Q&A. Brian and you able to host that Q&A at Jimmy Seafood. We got to meet with him and his agent just a touch, which was cool. And really, what we've heard from start to finish was that he was never going anywhere. The Ravens wanted to sign him last summer. He bet on himself. And man, it's like he bet on himself by putting every penny he had on, 7 on the roulette table and spun the circle, and it landed on 7. So he has ascended to being the second highest paid interior defensive lineman in the NFL. He beats out Quinnen Williams' contract, which is a monster in terms of total value. Madubuike gets $75.5 million in total guarantees. Huge number there. And $53.5 guaranteed at signing. So $53 million richer today, and probably in the next 2 years here, $75 million richer with being a younger player, being someone that we've talked about so much, ascending still, right? I do genuinely feel like there is more to unlock in Justin Madubuike. He is the type of player whose game should continue to get better, and he's not this big, plodding, bulky, powerful, typical interior defensive lineman, right? He is athletic as hell, and that should play for a long time with his skill set and technique. So, man, jacked up, fantastic.
Jack to the tits. Kyle, we are drinking a little high noon. I got the pool pack here. I actually just ran out to grab some. I was pretty much all tapped out on alcohol the last couple of weeks. So it was nice to go and make a little run there. Got myself a nice 12 pack. And yeah, perfect time to crack one open here. Ravens with the Friday news dump of the century. They're getting good at these. The Lamar Jackson one, that was a Thursday news dump, but going into the draft, it kind of felt like a Friday. That was very nice. So yeah, just incredible stuff. Presumably freeing up a lot of cap space. We're going to see what his 2023 cap hit is. That's not quite out yet. So we'll see what the gurus of the world have to say on it. But man, just a massive move well ahead of free agency. They've got this move out of the way now, and that is massive. Gives them a lot of room to work with. And I mean, looking at this guy's glow up, it's been talked about, but I don't know if it can be overstated. So I've got his Pro Football Reference page pulled up here. 2020, he's a rookie, right? COVID year. We've talked about it ad nauseum. That's a weird year to come in and learn a defensive system. This was still under Wink Martindale. 1 sack. 2021, second year player, 2 sacks. 2022, 5.5 sacks. That's when he started to look, like a really good player under Mike Macdonald. 2023, 13 sacks. He obviously had the streak and everything. Just a massive come up for the guy. And really, it's very nice to see this happen for a pretty highly touted pass rusher. I think, was he a 3rd round pick or a 2nd rounder back in 2020?
He was a 3rd round pick.
3rd round pick. So yeah, I mean, it's a decent investment. And it kind of speaks a little bit to the fact that the Ravens went and invested in this guy. He had that kind of upward trajectory all the way. And now they make the big investment in him. It kind of is the inverse of, let's grab a guy in the 4th or 5th round. Let's get a Zadarius Smith. Let's get some of these other guys, a Paul Kruger. I guess he was a little bit of a higher round draft pick as well. But these guys come in and they have that one big year, and then we're just going to let them walk and go to greener pastures. I think it speaks to what they see in Justin Madubuike. I think they believe that he can be this disruptive force that we saw last year. And maybe he won't be a double-digit sack guy next year. Maybe, it won't quite be in that neighborhood. But they said, when talking about Odafe Oweh, look, we don't just look at sack production, we look at every single thing that a guy can do here. And I think that is very telling in the fact that they've decided to go ahead and make this investment in Justin. And, $75 million in guarantees is nothing to sneeze at. I think it's a win for all parties. And like I said, clears up that cap space for them, gets them locked and loaded. Like our guy, I'm forgetting our friend's name there at the Jimmy's event, who asked him, will you be here next year? Just straight up asked him. And he said, I don't see why not. So listen, you were right. Maybe we were at the forefront of this. Maybe we broke this news months ago at the Jimmy's Seafood event that Madubuike would be back. And obviously, did all the smooth talking to his agent. I think we came off very smooth there, really not fanboying at all. So big credit to us for all of this.
Big credit to us. And Madubuike, man, just unbelievable to think about. Blows out Quinnen Williams. Well, it doesn't blow him out, but exceeds Quinnen Williams' deal. I would liken, and we had a couple questions here, what do you think the cap hit is going to be? Somewhere floating in here trying to pin that. But I look at Deron Payne's contract. Deron Payne signed it was a $90 million deal with 60 guaranteed, 46 fully guaranteed just a little bit ago. And his 2024 cap hit is going to have a $15 million base salary, $21.5 million here. So void year attached to that one. I think 2024. Yeah, 2020. He signed it in 2023 with an $8 million cap hit in the first year. That's what I meant to say. So signed it last year, $8 million cap hit. Then that went up to 21, 26, 28 with a void year attached. Ravens probably throwing a void year on there too. I wouldn't be surprised by that, but I would anticipate that brings his cap hit down at least $10 million, if not about 11 or 12, into that $7 to $9 million range, $7 to $10 million range. So the Ravens will have that wiggle room a little bit for today. They can go make themselves a move in free agency. They don't need to make any restructures immediately. I imagine they probably still will to give themselves further room there, but great to get that done ahead of Christian Wilkins probably and ahead of Chris Jones. Chris Jones probably going to blow that number out of the water, could even surpass Aaron Donald potentially. We will see. But yeah, man, it's interesting because you also see like a Justin Simmons get let go by the Broncos, who I guess are strapped for cash in some weird way because of Russell Wilson, them letting him go. But we're seeing the safety. Real? Is the cap real? No, the cap is not real. The cap is Fugazi. It's Fugazi. It's a myth.
It's a woozy. It's a wazi.
So we see safeties explode in this market, or I guess kind of bust in this market more so, and interior defensive linemen come forward. It feels like linebackers and defensive linemen getting more shine than the safeties in that kind of spinal too high world we've talked about a couple times in the last couple episodes here. So the safety market not booming, the defensive line market bussing, absolutely bussing right now. So if you're listening, we'd love to have you on YouTube. Like, subscribe, get us to 2K. We're right about there. So throw us those subscriptions, throw us those likes, all that good stuff. We love you guys. But the cap is cap here we have. Yeah. So we're messing around kind of. We can get into that whole thing. But yeah, just really lays down a foundation. A guy that we've talked about was a little bit of an unknown in ways, someone that felt like they had so much potential and showed it, made the step, took the leap, and gets paid out the wazoo. And again, Eric DaCosta showing, I will pay you if you perform here. I will pay my guys. You will get what you deserve. So sends a really nice message to younger players, Kyle Hamilton, the Tyler Linderbaums, maybe a Zay Flowers down the line. There's been a bunch of drama this offseason, and rumors with him. But hey, Lamar Jackson gets paid. They pay up for Roquan Smith. Mark Andrews has been paid. Marlon Humphrey's been paid. Ronnie Stanley's been paid. The Ravens will pay you if you play well in Baltimore, much to the chagrin of one certain inside reporter that is over at one of the radio stations. Well, I guess the radio station there. So the Ravens willing to shell out the big bucks here. And I think really the hope is that still there is even more to be unlocked in Madubuike, like I said, and ways of him getting more consistent. And that just comes with time, right? He's young, super young dude who's been able to stay on the field, and $98 million, 75 guaranteed with a 50 some odd $1 million bonus there. Good for you, JM. Good for you, man.
Yeah. Interesting tweet that I want to bring up here from Gordon McGinnis of Pro Football Focus, friend of the program. Ravens 2020 NFL draft was once viewed as a bust, and it's about to have 2 players in the top 5 to 10 at their position in terms of dollars per year. So I think at this point, I would assume that he's referring to Justin Madubuike and Patrick Queen. We'll see what happens with Patrick Queen. It sounds like he's going to have some suitors on the free agent market. Already rumblings out there about the Seahawks were an obvious link with McDonald. Now the Texans are kind of getting some buzz. So we'll see what happens with him, but they lock up one of these guys. And like you said, it's huge. And it does speak a lot to them investing in their own guys. And this goes back 25 years, and it's very, very big. And I just love the fact that they got this thing done. It didn't get dragged out. He's not going to be playing on the tag. They don't want to deal with that drama. And the fact that he wasn't is a huge feather in his cap as well. And going to be very excited to have him back. And ultimately, you start thinking about the offseason now. That's really where your mind goes when you get this thing ticked off the old to-do list there. That does, like you said, free up some cap space, maybe 10 million or so you're going to have to work with. I guess we'll see what happens with it. But ultimately, really excited to see what they decide to do. And I don't know, getting some rumblings now. And you mentioned the safety market thing. I think that's really interesting. It kind of, I think maybe I'm reaching a little bit to validate my own takes, but I think it does kind of speak to the whole wide receiver bubble thing. And is the whole like aerial game, was it maybe a little overvalued? And now there's guys coming into the league that grew up wanting to play wide receiver. Oh, well, I can't play wide receiver. I'll try corner. Can't try corner. I'll try safety. Now, maybe is there just a proliferation of young safeties that are coming in, and there's just a massive kind of logjam of young guys that are just going to be available. So you've got a Geno Stone now. You talk about people within their, within these draft classes that are hitting the market. Is he going to be willing to come back to Baltimore if this safety market isn't going to be what he expected? Because you're going to have a Justin Simmons and a Jordan Poyer and all these guys in front of him lining it up for big deals. So I don't know. It just interests me in the fact that they do have these pending free agents. Maybe you can go to some of them and say, hey, low cost deal, maybe come back 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. What do you think? I'm excited by that proposition. And this opens that up.
Most certainly. And you mentioned that 2020 draft class, and really goes to show the Ravens' ability to develop. 2020, COVID, right? Short off season, limited practice, limited interactions, no crowds, weird developmentally. And to have Patrick Queen, Justin Madubuike as 2 guys that are all pros. Devin Duvernay becomes at least a Pro Bowl kick returner, all pro kick returner, 3 all pros in that draft class. Kick returner doesn't really count, but nonetheless, then you go see Broderick Washington gets a second contract. Tyree Phillips, Ben Bredesen still starting around the league, getting snaps. Malik Harrison has been a solid role player, someone that I would like to see the Ravens bring back on the cheap. Geno Stone, second in the NFL in interceptions. So the development of that draft class was fantastic. Something that the Ravens have done so well, especially on that side of the football, was much needed. And now we'll see what happens with Patrick Queen. I don't know what he might be doing, but he doesn't seem to have any kind of, he didn't remove the Ravens from his social media and do all of that.
He just congratulated Madubuike on Twitter from what I saw.
I'm sure they're boys. They're good friends. And he might owe a nice seafood dinner to Mr. Madubuike for all the picks that he set when they ran games inside. I think Madubuike had like 4 or 5 sacks just off of stunts with PQ, mugged up in the A-gap there. So dynamic duo there. And help soften the blow. I mean, he was never going to go anywhere, Madubuike, but Mike McDonald leaves. You've got some questions, Van Noy, Clowney, Stone, all those guys. So making sure that you lock up the shining star, I would say, really, of that group for a long-term extension is huge and will help soften that blow. And it's going to reaffirm that commitment to this system, this team, this defense, the development, and really just personifies, that Baltimore Ravens defensive DNA, right? You draft a guy in the 3rd round that maybe slips a little. Oh, how did Justin Madubuike fall to the Ravens? He's not some shining star off the bat. Develops, has a monster season, and then they buy into him, keep him around on the long term. That is what being a Baltimore Raven means when you think about the identity of this franchise and their players and things like that. So Madubuike with one of the all-time great pass rushing seasons in Ravens history and gets paid as the highest paid pass rusher in Baltimore Ravens history there. So that contract probably exceeds Terrell Suggs' career earnings. I would guess if I had to look there. So super fired up about this one. Super fired up, not just about him for what he did last year, but again, I see him as someone that can be more consistently disruptive, can figure out more versatility, kick out more, be used as a weapon in many ways. And that resonates with this contract and that commitment from the Ravens. spending all that money on a player that has really only had one. I mean, he's looked good. He's been disrupted, but the numbers are only there that 1 year. So no one a bigger fan of him, prior to last year than me. And to see it come to fruition for me personally has been awesome, because you could always see the explosiveness, the dynamic athleticism and skill set, the length, and just really the effort, right? The screens he hounds down, backside, against the run, against bigger, stronger, looking guys on the inside. So it's been a ton of fun to watch him, and just awesome. Just a feel-good story, and couldn't be happier for the Madubuike inside. Yeah,
like I said, man, it's crazy. 8 sacks, or 8.5 sacks, I guess, in his first 3 years, and then 13. He doubles that production almost just in the one season, which is huge. Brian McFarland on Twitter, I wouldn't be surprised to see that they added a void year, 5th year to the deal to prorate the signing bonus over 5 years instead of 4. If there is an option bonus in 2025, common in Ravens deals, there could even be an additional void year to prorate that bonus over 5 years too. So if he wouldn't be surprised by it, I wouldn't either. And yeah, it just speaks to that creativity, and they're kind of starting to get out of the box on these things a little bit. So diving more into it is going to be very, very interesting. I'm excited to see those details continue to trickle out. But overall, just right now, it's a celebratory thing. People in the chat going crazy. W's in the chat for EDC. W's in the chat for the Beaks. And we love it. Beaks is one of the main nasty guys on this defense who's going to send you to the ice bath after the game. Good for the culture. Thank you, Mark. Very true. And I agree with it. And we talked on the show the other day on the Jumbo Set kind of about how they've already got 4 or 5 of these big mega contracts on the books. And now you add another one, and you lock up another blue chip player at your premium position where you're getting a lot of pass rush disruption, and finally get some sack production out of a guy that you drafted highly. That just makes me feel so good. It had been way too long, and very happy to see it, and very happy to see it rewarded. Like they needed a guy like this, and the fact they locked him up, just massive for all those reasons.
Definitely. And I know that some people have had questions about Mike Macdonald and his system, and how much of Madubuike's production is a result of how good Mike Macdonald is, and some of those things. But really, you can see quick wins on tape. You can see slow burns. You can see him cleaning up, and sacks are always going to be tied to coverage. But like you said, pressure is consistent. If you can consistently get to the quarterback around that, 2.4 to 3 second mark, you're going to do damn well, and you're going to make an impact defensively. So I don't think that Mike Macdonald leaving is going to cause some sort of fall off with Justin Madubuike specifically. Sure, maybe the Ravens defense takes a step back, but we had a comment in here, and we were talking about, him maybe not having the numbers, the box score production, but he has been a nightmare matchup. He has won against high quality guards too. Go ask if you want to ask whether Justin Madubuike is worth this contract. I suspect you could go ask Wyatt Teller up there in Cleveland and Joel Bitonio, and they would say, hell yeah, he is. I would be shocked if, when the NFL Top 100, the players poll comes out in a couple months here as part of the NFL 365 machine, whenever that comes out, like July, I would wager a good amount of money, or I would set the odds at like minus 180 that one of those two dudes is on screen when talking about Justin Madubuike, like the 47th ranked player in the NFL, because he gives them trouble. He has won against quality competition and can do it in all kinds of ways. Like I said, quick, with strength, with lightness off the line of scrimmage, diversity of pass rush moves, on stunts, cleaning up in space, against the run, screens, the whole kit and caboodle there. As we have Jeff Zrebeck coming in here, a full breakdown of the 4-year, $98 million extension. First year cap hit around $11 million. So a little bit higher than I thought. Thought maybe the $8-9 million range. An extra $1 million there.
You had a good guess.
Yeah. So whatever. But so that'll provide $11 million of relief for the Ravens instantly. And with one restructure of a Lamar Jackson or Roquan Smith, suddenly they have enough money to do probably whatever they want to in free agency without going too crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, this just really excites me for free agency now, because I feel like we enter this spot with the Ravens a lot, and it even happened on Lamar's rookie deal, which maybe is an indictment of the way things went on that rookie deal, but it just always feels like they enter free agency, and in those preliminary kind of days where you're approaching, and it's like, man, they really just have nothing to do. Then they make a move like this, and then they make a move like that restructure, that kind of whatever you're talking about, and they suddenly have room to work with. And I'm sure a lot of teams operate that way. So yeah, it just opens things up for when these initial waves of free agency do open. And what are they going to do? I mean, you got interesting options at wide receiver, like we've been talking about a lot. I mean, Pittman is going to remain in Indy, and you've got Mike Evans going back to Tampa Bay. Tim Patrick actually re-signed with the Broncos today, which I thought was interesting. I thought for sure a guy like that would hit the market, but you could do something at wide receiver. You could probably, hopefully do something along the offensive line. It sounds like they really do want to get active there. So interested to see how all that works out. And then how is it going to affect your own in-house guys? It sounds like they are going to move on from Zeitler. We'll see what happens with John Simpson. Geno Stone, I talked about that as an intriguing possibility to bring back, especially with the Marcus Williams uncertainty. You've talked about bringing him back to the table and kind of having a candid conversation about, hey, can you help us out here? Hopefully he does. But if not, I mean, this is just a big help. And like you said, and we've been saying the entire live stream here, you've just locked up a guy who's going to help you with that disruption along the line. And, you free yourself up some cap space for the time being. So W's in the chat for EDC.
100%, a nice core, not a lot of dead money, not a lot of issues going on. Your quarterback's locked up long-term. They really just need to revamp that offensive line, go attack there, and continue to nail the draft, man. They have a good thing going in terms of getting quality roles and eventually production out of those early round guys and beyond. I mean, it's an outstanding track record. And some of those returns, like we mentioned, weren't in the box score quickly, but they certainly have become it over time. We talked about that 2020 draft class, the 2019 draft class, maybe the weakest there, and you still have a 1,000-yard receiver, a guard that got paid $60 million, and a back that, is still kicking around on the Ravens. 2021, Bateman, Owe, fifth-year options TBD. Owe feels like an ascending player. Bateman, the weight of the world there. But go look at Brandon Stevens, man, a player that I feel like as we've gotten out of the intensity of the season and the kind of ease of the jumping onto a nice soft mattress of the offseason, Brandon Stevens is a player that might get paid $70-80 million if he has another strong year like he did last year. Awesome player that required, again, development, that was taken in that third round. Awesome production there. And then 2022, able to go dig out Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, and Travis Jones with 3 of your first 4 picks. Then you go look at Isaiah Likely, Charlie Kohler starting to play a role for you, and some other ancillary players. See what happens with Ajabo before finally, of course, Zay Flowers was probably the best rookie receiver in Ravens franchise history. Tavius Robinson playing a nice role there. And we'll see what happens with those guards at the end of the draft, as well as Trenton Simpson. So every year, finding guys to develop, guys that can make a little bit of an instant impact in ways, or at least start, and they're making money. Broderick Washington, but 2 defensive linemen from the same draft after the second round, $130 million between the two of them, just about $125 million between the two of them. So big shout out to, Mike McDonald, Wink Martindale, Zach Orr, Anthony Weaver, everybody that's been involved in the development of those guys up front. They have really produced some studs, self-made, and then, of course, going out and grabbing Roquan Smith to really cap things off.
Yeah, and soapbox season for me, and I'm as guilty of this as anyone else at times, but it's just another reminder, let's not judge a draft class after 1 or even 2 seasons. If you want to get into that 3rd season and things aren't looking good for a lot of guys, I totally get it. But, and that 2020, it really did look like a dud here. And then Madubuike, he turned into what he did. And then obviously Patrick Queen, same thing. Geno Stone, a lot of these guys, man. Broderick Washington, like you hit on, they've extended 2 of them now, looking pretty darn good. So the draft, it really is just overall meta conversation. And it's funny, as we just wrapped up the combine and draft season is really kicking off in full swing. It's a long process that you can't judge right from the outset. So another thing to keep in mind as we head into this draft season that we all love so much, just to try not to get overly hyped, about it, coming out of it at the very least, and think that all these guys are going to be 1st-year impact players. Ideally, you get like 1 or 2 of those. Really, it's usually just the 1. And then if you can get more out of it, great. And ultimately they did with this 2020 draft class, but it's almost a Benjamin Button situation where it did take a lot of these guys a little bit more time to turn into the players that they did. And it's funny that I think about that as a Benjamin Button thing, because I think this is how the draft was or used to be back in the 70s and 80s. It's like, all right, we pick these guys and maybe they'll turn into players for us, even quarterbacks. Like maybe they'll turn into a player for us 4 or 5 years down the line, but we're not expecting much right out of the gate. So just a nice little reminder there. I don't want to be antagonistic about it because, like I said, just as guilty of it as a lot of our listeners here. But just, something to think about.
Sure. Guys can develop, especially in the trenches, man. It's hard to be a first-year impact player as an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. And when you are special. You are certainly special. And Madubuike specifically showed some flashes, but to really reel it all in together, capped off $100 million contract, $98 million with a 75 in guarantees. So generational wealth there, generation after generation for someone who the Ravens reportedly, again, offered a contract to last summer ahead of this season. And he said, I'm going to see if I can beat that out. And I would love to know what that number is, because I feel like it could have shocked people maybe. Maybe it was a $50 million deal. Who knows? So,
Been, yes.
Yeah, maybe that could have been a big shocker. And then, that's how people talk about like that Christian Kirk contract always come back to, like, oh, what are they doing? You pay guys for what they're going to become. And I think we see that reflected in a $98 million contract. Again, Madubuike was kick ass, but I still think, I'm not going to say like we're just scratching the surface. He was so good. He had a sack in 10 games, but I think he's capable of being a much more consistently dominant player as he gets more reps and more comfortable with his skill set, because he has such a unique skill set. It takes a lot of confidence and reps that are unique. His tape doesn't look like a lot of other guys' tape. And that's why I made that Aaron Donald comparison a couple years ago. It's hard when you're that body type and that athleticism, because it doesn't really exist. There are not a lot of 6'2" wells. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he plays at 280. 6'2", 280, 34-inch arms, and can cross chop and beat guys that quickly. It's rare. He is the rare of the rare. He is the elite of the elite in terms of build, frame, and skill set with that athleticism. So it makes sense that he needed to develop a little bit. And it's hard. You do have to give the Ravens coaching staff credit for helping him to bring that out. It's hard when you don't have a lot of examples around the league to look at. Now we're seeing Kalijah Kancey, another one, first-round draft pick last year. Didn't quite have the length, but somewhat of a similar play. These lighter, more athletic three-techs that can move around and really hurt guys in space. And I'll just think of that C.J. Stroud sack week 1, Stroud on the boot, and I think he looked up, saw an interior lineman, and was like, oh, I've got time. And then Madubuike just closed him down in 3-4 steps. And
welcome to the league, C.J. Stroud.
Definitely. So not sure what else there is to touch on there. $98 million, $75 million in guarantees, $11 million cap hit, most likely a fifth-year void year to help prorate that bonus and spread that bonus money out. The Ravens get immediate cap relief and another $100 million contract, man. I mean, sheesh. Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Marlon Humphrey, Lamar Jackson 2.5 times that, and now Justin Madubuike. Seems like almost every year there's a monster deal coming in. So EDC is unafraid. Eric DaCosta is more than willing to open the checkbook and lock up long-term players that prove themselves in Baltimore. And we've seen that be really the two tenets of his tenure so far in the post-Ozzie Newsome era are getting some dudes in the draft that people kind of shit on, and then they turn into something, and then paying out some monster deals. So the Ravens have typically done a lot of cash up front. I'm imagining that'll be the case in terms of bonus money paid out early, so they have more flexibility late. And there you go. Roquan Smith, Lamar Jackson, Justin Madubuike locked up there. You can throw Mark Andrews, Marlon Humphrey into that category as well, and that's kind of the core right now.
Yeah, and it's nice, like the idea of like paying a guy to like what they're going to be is really nice, but like I feel like sometimes with those contracts, it feels like, and mathematically you're supposed to hit on 15 and 16. You're supposed to hit in blackjack. It's easier said than done though when you're sitting there at the table and you have money on the line. This feels like they're hitting on like 9, right? Like it's not quite a double down on 11. It's not quite a 10, but you're hitting on a 9. And it feels like with the sack production and all the disruption that we saw last year, feels like much more of a sure thing that you're going to beat the dealer here. So, not much else to say. You said it. I mean, we said it this whole time. It's just a tremendous Friday news dump, one of the better ones that we've had in a while. And like you said, spring right around the corner, rejuvenation, renewal, daylight savings coming up on Sunday. What a time. You can't lose in the offseason. I've been saying this for the last couple of days. No losses in the offseason, and this is a big W. W's in the chat all around.
Certainly. See what we got in the comments here. Sabri Faze, would you be opposed to them paying up to get Saquon?
How far up?
Yeah, I don't know about like $15 million a year, but man, the explosiveness of Saquon Barkley in both the run and the pass game. Again, we're looking for Lamar Jackson to maybe finally have that dude next to him. you think of how also having a star player that's used to having the limelight on them.
Sabre's saying 12 mil.
12 mil a year, and if that's like 25 million guaranteed over 3 years, 36 million. I think so. If you're happy with the medicals, it is what it is. And then people can say, oh, well, his medicals and he's older. Well, shit, they draft J.K. Dobbins. Got a little bit of medical stuff, but hey, you draft the rookie running back and the same issue can happen. So I think having some star power there is a factor. I also think you could probably keep the tread on the tires pretty light. The Giants, and this could be a factor for any veteran running back, but the Ravens don't run their running backs into the ground. Lamar Jackson is going to carry the football. They are going to mix it up a little bit. So that should probably extend the battery life there on Saquon Barkley, I would imagine. And I think having someone as a true impact home run hitter that is to be feared in terms of explosiveness and ability and talent is something that could ease the burden on Lamar Jackson 100%, make teams respect the run just as much, if not more than they already do. And yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. So Ravens have reportedly been pretty much doing due diligence on every running back. It feels like they have wanted the dude for a while, and they thought it would be Dobbins, and they kind of held out hope that he could get back on the field and couldn't. So I don't know. Seems like a lot of guys want to come play with Lamar Jackson, and running backs look pretty damn good next to him. So Saquon Barkley, I think, is the ideal fit. I would prefer him over a Henry. I prefer him over any other free agent back if cost is not an issue. If it is, it's a different story, and only got so much you can spend on. So Josh Jacobs at $9 million or $10 million versus Saquon at 14. There's discussions to be had and what have you. But yeah, I think the Ravens do need to find a dude and go hammer up that offensive line. I would love to see them attack whatever free agents become available in terms of versatile guard tackle guys. If that happens, if there are some more cuts made, maybe go bring in another guard. And then continue drafting players that you feel like can be that Zay Flowers type immediate impact, because you have a damn good roster. You're paying a lot of guys right now. And I do think maybe you want to look at less developmental first round picks. And then, after the first and second round, that kind of goes out the window, right? So
secured themselves a 4th rounder today, compensatory for the Ben Powers signing with Denver.
134, maybe 132, something like that.
134, yeah, I think so. They'll have that, and then they'll have a 2nd round pick for the first time in what feels like a fucking eon.
Yeah, you had a pretty good tweet about that. I enjoyed that. That was a great Jake tweet.
Yeah,
earlier Jake said, "Let me find it." You said, "Oh my gosh,
I could probably do it off the top of my head, but I like the content of you."
Yeah. Let me find it here. Jeff's reback. Ravens now have 8 picks in the 2024 draft, 1 in each of the first, number 30, second, third, and 5th rounds, 2 in the 4th and 2 in the 7th. They traded their 2024 6th rounder to the Browns for a 2023 7th, which they used to draft guard Andrew Voorhees. Jake quote tweeted it and said, "Love having a 2nd round pick. The working man's 1st round pick. Not showing off, but not lagging behind." I
right in that meaty part of the curve, it really is great to have a 2nd round pick. It's like that day 2, there's still a palpable buzz on that day 2, because a lot of these 2nd round picks, and you notice it when they don't have them, which they haven't for like a couple years out of the last 5 or so when DeCosta's been in charge. And he obviously made great moves jettisoning those picks for, a Marcus Peters, or not a Marcus Peters, but a Roquan Smith and a Lamar Jackson. It's just nice to have, because it feels like an extension of the 1st round in a lot of ways. And you look at a lot of these 2nd round players the last couple of years, a lot of them receivers too, which we're going to keep talking about this offseason, a lot of great 2nd round receivers, just a lot of great 2nd round players. So love having a 2nd round pick. It's fantastic.
Zadarius Smith here. I don't know if that's a Zadarius Smith play on words. That would be fantastic if it was. If it's just your name, that's pretty cool too. Says, I don't see any big splashes. Ravens still need money for the draft class. I hate when people say we need money. Yes, of course they need money for the draft class. They always know that.
It doesn't
that means that they can't go sign Odell Beckham to a 1-year, $15 million deal. But if there was a 4-year deal to be had that you could sign someone for $57 million and have a $6 million 1st-year cap hit, they absolutely can go get super aggressive in that regard. So I hate that notion. They have $25 million they could restructure. If they want to make a move, they can. And again, the only guys they really are underwater with are Lamar, Roquan Smith, and now Justin Madubuike. They have flexibility with Williams. They have flexibility with Stanley. I guess Humphrey for just this year is the last year where you're underwater in Marlon Humphrey's contract.
It's also pretty easy to get cap compliant for the draft class. Like the cap hits aren't as high as the money they're getting. So
I mean, it's slotted, so it's just factored in already.
Yeah,
I think the Ravens could definitely make reasonable moves. Is it going to be Marcus Williams in free agency? Probably not. Probably not going to be a $70-something million deal, but you can go throw out a nice edge rusher. And if you talk about running back, that's the thing. I feel like running back, in my opinion, if you're talking about a $9 million, $10 million cap hit over the next 3 years on average versus some above average corner or receiver for 18, where's the value? Those are conversations I like to get a part of. So, Saquon for $35 million for 3 years, unless it's like 60, I don't know. But, getting a back, that's cheap on free agency relative to everything else. You can get to the whole positional value whirlwind, but they could they're going to make typical Ravens moves. They'll sign second and third wave free agents. Maybe they go get a back. They'll wait for other people to jump the gun and look for guys that are kind of trying to win a little bit more. Jeremy Harris here, Emmanuel Ogbah, a fun one.
Yeah, for sure. And then Trevor Hunt's saying probably won't happen, but Ladd McConkey back with Todd Monken will be fun. The Ravens met with Ladd McConkey at the Combine, and I would not be surprised if there's a lot of interest there. That would be a lot of fun.
You would just be too satisfied with that. Kyle Hamilton, Ladd McConkey, that's too much for you to – you'd really – get Ladd.
Maybe I just know this team too well, and I know what they need. And listen, they needed Kyle Hamilton, whether people realized it or not.
I've never heard you speak of Ladd McConkey, but I just know that you're really into him.
Well, I bet big on Georgia in the Natty, I think 2 years ago, and he had a big game there. So that was the beginning of my Ladd McConkey fandom. And listen, you can't do much better than name-wise than Ladd McConkey. I mean, like everyone's going to make the who's the kid on the Raiders? Renfro.
Having a jersey that says McConkey on it is insane. Like buying that and wearing it would be hysterical to me.
It's Ladd with 2 Ds. He's got double Ds. I mean, that's hot in the streets right now. Look at Saturday Night Live the other night.
Dump trucks are out.
Yeah.
Trailers are in.
Yeah. Balconies.
Certainly. Plasma with a good point here. Sorry if I missed this combo, but can you imagine Chris Jones' price goes up? So the inverse of that is that Eric DeCosta getting this done before Chris Jones with the Chiefs and before Christian Wilkins hits the open market. Feel like that's pretty massive. And being the first one here definitely probably saved you a little bit, but probably maybe marginal in the end. It feels like this deal was based off of Quinnen Williams and Daron Payne's deals, very much so.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And Chris Jones will probably beat him by 1 million, 2 million a year to be the highest paid guy. That's just how this always works. But it is nice to beat out the Chiefs on that. My hatred for the Chiefs has been growing and festering for the last couple months.
Definitely. You're back in all the way on that. Yeah. So it is nice in that regard. And I don't know, it felt obscure, this kind of thing, because we've heard nothing but the fact that the Ravens are all in on Justin Madubuike and Jeff Zrebiec, who he tweets sometimes where it feels like he knows a little something ahead of time and insinuates, but even on, what was it, this past Monday, I think he tweeted and was like, wouldn't be shocked if the Ravens do get a buzzer beater done with Madubuike. Wouldn't be shocked if that happened, which really I feel like gave you hope that they would get the deal done ahead of free agency. But at the same time, is Madubuike in a rush? No, but I guess the Ravens press the issue and we end up getting that number. And man, there you go.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, running up on 40 minutes here. Any final takes on this great day, this great Friday beers happy hour situation?
Great Friday news drop. The weather is fantastic and spring has sprung. We can put the loss of the Ravens in the AFC Championship behind us, get ready for the draft here, and keep on firing away.
Off-season is the best. No,
we're all champions.
Cannot lose in the off-season.
How can I lose in these shoes? Plasma, is the safety position dead? No, that's what's so weird about it. I feel like
there's just a lot of really good ones, almost too many.
I think, and that's what's interesting. I feel like corner, there's no bubble on corner, but safety and wide receiver are where the bubbles are.
Yeah. Safety, is tough. You're the last line of defense for a reason. It's a little bit less premium than corner. So, and then obviously, like I said, it's where you kind of go if you're not as good of a corner. So supply outweighing demand a little bit there. Just an influx of guys that are probably really, really good. And, how it goes sometimes.
Not a terrible thing because for players, it sucks. And I hate that for them. I hope they all get all the money that they deserve.
I think they'll writ large be fine.
Yeah, this upcoming draft class is not really and hey, I haven't gotten to the tape of the safeties yet really that much. It's supposed to be one of the weaker positions of the class. But with Kyle Hamilton coming up on year 3, if the market kind of just this comment
breaking here from C-Max Mill, dump trucks are not out, he says.
No, of course not. That's just the propaganda right now. We don't personally subscribe to that.
Live your truth. Whatever's in for you is in.
100%. We're not exactly back in 1997 anti-dump truck, all about the milkers, but hey, we don't discriminate.
I love all my queens. It's International Women's Day, so
it is. That would actually be very sexist to say that dump trucks are out on National Women's Day. Yeah. So my point though being, Kyle Hamilton, maybe if the market can chill, I need to look at who the upcoming safeties to get paid are, but I don't know. He's kind of the preeminent one. I think Antoine Winfield is one. There's a couple, Holland down in Miami who's been hurt a little bit. So if that can kind of stay down until Kyle Hamilton's deal, that probably helps the Ravens. But man, I could see him getting, a $90 million contract in about 2 years. So we shall see.
We shall. Okay. That all we got?
That's all we got. We can end it there.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for hopping
like and subscribe if you're still listening. Like and subscribe. Get us to 2K on YouTube. If you're not listening on YouTube, we'd love to have you there. Always.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging with us on this Friday evening under great circumstances, very auspicious circumstances. Hope you enjoyed a nice drink, nice cocktail, nice seltzer, nice beer, whatever you're down to enjoy. Or if you're not drinking, that's fine too. But great time of year to just celebrate, enjoy. No losses in the offseason. Sun's coming back. Daylight savings on Sunday night. Just one of my favorite times of year. And it's fantastic. So also, Plasma, are you handing out winners or are we going broke tonight?
I have still not submitted my picks. I will informally throw Brandon Miller over 20.5 on the board for you right there, Plasma, if you want to go there.
Controversial play.
I'll give that like a 6.7 out of 10.
That Yoshi gif is, by the way, I haven't told you this yet. That Yoshi gif is just one of my favorite things. It just brings joy to my heart every time you do the hammer play.
I've been waiting on the hammer. I haven't had one in a while. Last night we went.
You did one the other night, didn't you?
No, I haven't had one in a long time.
Okay.
I don't think I don't think since before the Super Bowl, actually. I don't think I've had a hammer. There might have been one that I'm not recalling, but Cade Cunningham last night. I went down a wormhole. I had a bad couple days last week. This week
this is just spend BA season. You were just all over the NBA.
The NBA, I will go on an NBA tangent. This is the best, and I'm saying this with John Morant out, Julius Randle's out, Jalen Brunson's out right now, Maxi's out right now, and Trae Young is out right now. A lot of injuries around the NBA, and I am still so thoroughly entertained by the state of the NBA and where the stars are. Like last night, Luka against the Mavs, hitting turnaround corner threes on that, Heat culture. That was an awesome game. The Bucks have been up and down. Fun to watch them. Doc Rivers coming in, how they can get in and out of things. The Lakers surging. LeBron went crazy. They're struggling to fight for a spot. The NBA is in a great spot. And just the general skill overall in the NBA right now is insane to me. And I feel like we're seeing the athletes become shooters. Like we had the Steph Curry come in and Damian Lillard and all these guys, but now the guys that aren't supposed to be shooters have evolved into shooters, and it's crazy fun to watch. If you are bored right now, check out my NBA picks, check out the NBA, man. I'm thrilled watching the NBA every night. I've been having an absolute blast. So would love, if you want to chat, DM me if you want to talk some NBA, because I'm all about it.
Seems like and the franchise might not like this. It seems like you're on a trajectory.
Hates.
It seems like, this is
hates the squeaking shoes. So I have to turn the volume off. I've never even heard the shoes squeak before until she said that. And now I'm like, whoa, all right. It is pretty squeaky. Anthony Edwards last night. Yeah.
You're turning into Ryan Russillo is the point that I had to make there. And she's not going to like that. I
don't know Russillo that well. I feel like you do. So I don't fully understand him. I like him when he's on content that I like, but I don't know his whole story. I know he was kind of floating around, didn't know what to do with his life for a while, things like that.
Yeah.
And then just became an NBA guy.
And then
I don't even know how he was on ESPN for a long time. Is that what it was?
Yeah, he was with SVP. They had a radio show, and he found fulfillment in just watching NBA games every night, like all of them, and just taking copious notes. And he's got a boat, and he lives in Santa Monica, and life is just good for Russillo. But, is there something else there? Is he missing something? Is what some people seem to speculate on, which I don't think.
I have some here. People are asking, a couple people asking for picks here. Here's what I jotted down. I've just been swamped today and haven't gotten my picks in yet. I was working hard until like 5:35 today. I have Brandon Miller, like I said, over 20.5 points. Jalen Green over 2.5 threes. I like Jalen Green's points as well. Paolo Banchero over 22.5. SGA over 30.5. Duop Reith threes. And if you want to take those and round robin them, and if you want to throw in Duop Reith 4+ made threes as a kicker, there's some serious juice there. Duop Reith points, Duop Reith threes, all at play there. Spenny looks like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Maryland. All right. I don't know. Yeah, I can get down in Bel-Air. Yeah, I can go Loons. I can go Loonies. I can head up Blair, go Loons.
Yeah, Blair is. Yeah. That's the pronunciation if you're from there.
Shout out to my favorite taco place in the state. Second favorite taco place in the state of Maryland, R&R Taqueria, right in the Blair area. I think that might technically be Nottingham, but man, R&R Taqueria. You want some tacos.
Mother's in Ocean City, Maryland. It's my favorite.
I also want to shout out free ad Balto's Pizza in Towson. Second best pizza in the state of Maryland. Second best.
I'll be.
They do sourdough. You'll be around there soon enough.
They're close to there next week.
They do sourdough. It's a sourdough bakery, so they do sourdough pizzas, fresh wood fired there. My God, it is fantastic. Second best pizza in the state of Maryland. Chocolate chip cookies. I had one of the best cookies of my life there. I'm talking like Trump. That was literally the Trump. Trump literally does that one. Yeah,
he was having a field day last night.
Things. Yeah,
making some content with the SOTU. I mean,
he was doing like Snapchat filters.
The Snapchat filter, yeah.
That was insane. That was
say what you want about it. No, I've said many things. The guy knows content.
He's funny. He is funny. But Balto's Bakery. Didn't mean to pair a nice little free ad with any political commentary, but hey, it happens. Go check them out.
It's if you're free local. Advertising. They can
so good.
Leave it.
So good. Tell them they don't have any napkins there. I will warn you. You kind of got to finagle some napkins out of them. There are no.
That's how you know it's good. It's like these hole in the wall places. They're always the best.
I also didn't know that Uncle Wiggly's closed down during COVID. That broke my heart. I used to live right there. Used to eat there all the time. That broke my heart. So. But go check out Balto's Pizza. If you want to go see Dune and you haven't seen it yet, go hit Balto's Pizza and then go to the Towson movie theater if you want to have a nice time.
I gotta go I gotta see that again. I haven't seen a movie twice in theaters maybe in my entire life, and that one's gonna be.
I saw Two Towers twice. I saw one of the Star Wars twice. I've done it a few times.
I might have, but I don't recall if I did. Okay.
Justin Madubuike. 100 million, 75 cash. Baltimore Ravens, lock them up long term. Go get some sourdough pizza.
Lock it the heck up. We like that. Thank you guys for hanging with us on a Friday evening here. A little happy hour live edition. Plenty of listeners. 500 in the chat right now. We appreciate you all. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, comment, get that algorithm pumping. We love it all very much. Shout out to our presenting sponsor, Jimmy's Famous Seafood, as well as Fed Thrill, as well as our guys over at Black Eyed Susan Spices. You're all very much appreciated, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Probably going to break this down in more detail on the Jumbo set this coming Wednesday, or hopefully Wednesday. I got a freaking crazy week coming up here, so we might have some scheduling stuff that we're going to have to work through, but we'll figure it out. We'll get you an episode. And in the meantime, follow us on social media at X52 Podcast across the board on all the platforms. I am at Jake Luke. That's LOUQUE. Spenny is at Ravens 4 Dummies. That is the number 4. Follow the rest of the clowns at Barstool Banks, at Taylor Smythe 10, at EDITTI 22. Thanks again, all, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
See ya.
Arrivederci.